I'm Mark Seifter.
And I'm Linda Zives Palmer.
And this is Arcane Mark. Hello, everyone, and welcome to
Biased Reactions.
Gods and Magic. We will now move on to philosophies and spirituality.
Hi, Trippy. Welcome.
Welcome. You just missed the intro, but you can see it on the playback, and we'll have it in the outro. So, basically, the beginning of philosophies and spirituality is pantheons, which is a really cool new sort of mechanical feature. It's always sort of been in Golarion that there are certain pantheons, but the way that they were covered was sometimes a little bit different depending on the pantheon. But with the pantheon rules for Pathfinder 2nd Edition, each pantheon has a pantheon alignment and a pantheon divine ability and skill. It's almost like a deity, except for that when you're following a pantheon, you basically need to uphold the ideals of both one of the deities from the pantheon, who you kind of pick as your main patron, and the pantheon ideals as well. So Dwarven Pantheon's the first one. You could be like, well, my main person here is Angrad, the Forgefire, but I follow the Dwarven Pantheon, and that means you also, in addition to everything Angrad wants you to do, you're going to develop skills useful to your community, especially crafting, mining, and trading, honor your ancestors through traditions and rituals, but you won't dishonor your family, willingly break a contract or oath, or irreparably damage an ancestral relic. And so it gives you different spells and different favored weapon than the deity alone might give. There's some different domains in there, all sorts of different rules for that.
So it allows for a lot of customization while fitting that same sort of rules niche as a single deity does, so that it doesn't require any sort of weird tack-ons to make it work.
Yep. And the other two pantheons in the book are the Elven Pantheon, who want you to learn and appreciate traditional elven arts, crafts, and magic, explore the world outside and within, and they don't want you to irreparably damage the natural environment, such as strip mining, or have an unhealthy obsession or attachment. And the Godclaw, which is a group from the Hell Knight Order of the Godclaw, is a kind of unusual one, because it has deities that range from Asmodeus to Iomedae and Torag, and they want you to eliminate chaos at its root, be an exemplar of order, worthy of not one, but 5, seek the universal laws that transcend individual faiths, and they don't want you to rest when there's lawlessness to fight, or believe you know or understand more than the Godclaw does. And those are the ones that are in the book, but just like when we talked about some of the god boons that were in the book, and some of the deities that didn't have them, Luis and Eleanor managed to fit in even more of this as well in a web supplement. So there is a web supplement with additional pantheons.
There's a blog, too.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
It's a blog, it's not a downloadable web supplement. It is a blog supplement. I think there was a blog about the other one supplement, but it was downloadable. So
I remember that the mechanics were in a blog because of sanctioning for Pathfinder.
Yes, that's how I remember it, too. Luis was like, wait, this is being sanctioned? I just want to write some more fun pantheons.
It's like, too late! If you didn't want it to be in Pathfinder Society, you shouldn't have made it so cool, Luis.
That is a problem that you sometimes have, is that Luis just makes things that are too cool. What are you going to do? So then we've got philosophies, such as the Esoteric Order of the Palatine Eye, which is both a philosophy and a secret society. And they kind of want you to seek out wisdom of ancient cultures, particularly ancient Osirian, provide succor to scholars, honor the rights of the Order, and not to reveal the Order's secrets to those outside the organization, or insufficiently ranked members, or destroy rare or ancient lore. So they're kind of like those random people during that certain age in Europe who were just overly obsessed with Egypt, except in Golarion, and they're trying to stop random apocalypses and stuff.
Yeah, and it's definitely one of the. It also calls upon those sort of ideas of these group of wealthy people have this mysterious thing that they're doing squirreled away in their mansions, and who knows what kinds of things they're tapping into.
Sometimes it's not evil.
Yeah, it's there's rumors that say are they worshiping devils? Are they what are they doing?
It is very thelemic.
It is very.
It's also very, very theosophic.
Yes.
So then we've got God calling.
And if you want to know more about those sorts of things, talk to Eric Mona.
Yes. Or you could talk to him if you don't want to know more about those sorts of things, and you might learn about them anyway and decide that you want to know about them after talking to him, because he has a collection. So God calling is pretty different than the Esoteric Order of the Palatini. Like, just even in terms of, one of them is a secret society of people who are obsessed with another culture and, like, secrets. And the other one is a way of life of that is more of a religious philosophy rather than a secret society philosophy. So God calling basically varies a lot, and that's why it's like, oh yeah, the areas of concern and the alignment, that depends on your god. Because Sarkorian gods are these beings that are connected to the world and then can be called in through god callers. They're basically eidolons that can be called in by summoners. And so, and they often appear as animals, such as wolves or bears with feathery manes, which means they probably fit in on the beast eidolon situation, meaning that they are likely formed out of vital essence, since they're part of the world, which really makes sense with a lot of the story of how there were problems with God calling, or some things got corrupted when the world wound tapped in.
And God calling has become more common in recent years, now that the world wound is closed up.
Yay!
And the displaced people of Sarkoris are returning to their ancestral homelands and are able to share their experiences and revive traditions that were torn asunder in the wake of the demonic invasion.
That's right. Their edicts are also completely different depending on your god, and their anathema are mostly different, but they've got one that they all agree with now. It's a new one that was not there before the world wound, which is make no deals or bargains with demons. Because they do not like the world wound.
They do not like it.
They do not like how many of their gods were lost. Because since they are probably, a lot of them were probably primal and connected to the land, and therefore were lost when the land was blighted. They never want that to happen again, no matter what else they believe in.
Speaking of people who don't want the land to be terribly
They probably
blighted,
don't like the husks either.
The Green Faith.
Oh right, people won't know what the husks are if they didn't
Yes.
watch the pre-show. It's a
It's
thing
true.
from a book that was in the pre-show. Sorry everyone. So yeah, the Green Faith are like your stereotypical druids. They're so stereotypical of druids that they have a bunch of different orders in them that you may have heard of, like the Order of the Leaf and the Storm Order.
Where have I heard that before?
And basically, a lot of the orders that you can choose for your character are based off of orders in the Green Faith. Now, they don't technically like have a beast order, but that's because they have like claw and wing, and one's based on different kinds of animals. So there's basically it's been announced that PaizoCon the Secrets of Magic covers the last 3 missing elemental orders that were in the Green Faith. So at that point, you'll be able to play a large number of their orders. Maybe not like the super niche ones, like the Order of the Rift that are only specifically volcanoes, but you could probably get close to that.
Yeah.
And they want you to guide civilization in harmony with nature, live sustainably according to natural cycles, preserve areas of natural wilderness, protect the balance of nature, protect endangered species, but not to cause damage to natural settings, kill animals for reasons other than self-defense or sustenance, remove an element or indigenous species from a natural area, or encourage imbalance in nature by allowing abuse of natural resources.
And then we have the laws of mortality.
They are definitely not religious.
Do not call them a religion. They are definitely not. They are a philosophy from Rahadum, which came about in response to a lot of religious conflicts that were tearing the society apart. So the society adopted a new philosophy that basically says the fundamental rule is don't get involved with deities. They challenge religious power and the spread of religion. They expose and eradicate hidden worship, and they provide a peaceful and autonomous society in which the people are cared for through social infrastructure. Their anathema are to worship or swear an oath by a deity or religion, solicit or receive divine or religious aid, or take a side in conflicts between religions. So they're really keeping themselves out of that. They're really focusing on what can we do as people to improve ourselves, to take care of each other without getting involved in any of this divine business.
Because their edicts aren't all just like get rid of divine magic. That's totally in there. But they also have provide a peaceful and autonomous society in which the people are cared for through social infrastructure. So they're not just being like, we're not going to have divine magic and we have no replacement. They want people to make rules for people and not some random gods up there who are going to do it and for their own purposes, whether they say they're good or not good. Kitsune Warlock thought that invented by Rahadum meant it was invented by Ron Lundum.
Ron Lundum.
Ron Lundum is like the Victor Von Doom version of Ron Lundin.
I don't know. We played at Ron's table before, and he's really not a deadly GM.
Yeah, but if Ron became Doctor Doom and ruled over his own nation and was like Richards, then
that could be Ron Lundum.
He would be Ron Lundum. All right, let's see what other philosophies we have that are not about that. We have the
Prophecies of Calistrade, which is all about money, accumulating personal wealth, seeking enlightenment through purity of self, fostering and aiding in mercantile pursuits. Their anathema are to spend money frivolously, to offer money to those who don't deserve wealth, or to overindulge in physical pleasure, food, or drink, or to give charity to others. So they accumulate huge amounts of money, but they like to show it off, but they don't want to but they're also very restrictive in the way that they do things. They wear these long white gloves to make sure that they don't accidentally make contact with another person. They eat this really convoluted ascetic diet, and follow all sorts of practices so that they can, in their view, purify themselves.
That's right. Then there is Sangpochi, which is a philosophy of kind of karmic reincarnation that is more common in Tiansha. Sangpochi has edicts to live selflessly, heed the wisdom of the learned, the wise, and those in stations of authority, but not needlessly break significant traditions, actively interfere with the efforts of others to perfect their soul, or allow others to interfere with that. So it's all about kind of separately from whether you believe in the gods, so you can like be a follower of Sangpochi and a deity with no problem, just believing that you should live these selfless lives, and if you do, and you are respectful of authority and wisdom of those who came before you, then you will sort of follow this karmic cycle and go through a reincarnation.
So there's a lot of focus on meditation, introspection, accepting the past, and seeking wisdom both from within and without, and as well as finding others who can. But unlike sort of the some of the more things you might see with the Rory, where it's like, oh, you're gonna meditate by yourself or things like that. And find it. Sangpochi also encourages people to work together and collaborate and share what they know.
That's right. So Shawanti animism is a belief from Shawanti that varies a little bit depending on which Kwa you're a member of, because each Kwa has a rite of passage that gives you a tattoo and is related to a totem for the Kwa. And basically, Shawanti animism is very, very deeply connected to vital essence and life force. It even mentions that it directly in the entry that it is based on vital essence and not spiritual essence that is common to clerics. So it is a very much focused on this connection, and
it's a very personal and individual connection that's right. based on the person's connection to their environment. It doesn't say that like it's gonna happen in one particular way or time.
Yep, and they have particular rites and rituals that are mentioned in here. but they don't really have a set edict and anathema. And then atheists and free agents definitely don't have any alignment, edicts, or anathema, because atheists and free agents believe, come on.
So as this section talks about, there are very few people in the world of Golarion who just say, I don't believe that gods exist. With divine magic around and everything that's going on, that's a bit of a tough sell.
It would be pretty hard. Like, even in part 2 of an early AP, like, my alchemist character was getting yelled at by Urgathoa directly. So, like, at that point, I mean, he wasn't an atheist, but if he was, it's like, who was yelling at me then? It was literally Urgathoa yelled at me.
So it might be that they're not interested in following a particular religion. Because they're not really, because none of those faiths really appeal to them, and they'd rather focus on their own beliefs. They might think that gods are not inherently worthy of worship.
They'd be like, gods are just, Tree Razor is just a level 25 monster that's the highest in the bestiary. That just means a team of powerful heroes can kill him. They're just a little bit less than him. Why are we separating him out?
Why are we giving all these
Why are we giving him all this
and
extra
stuff
worship?
Stuff like that,
Do we worship level 20 adventurers? No, but they could kill Tree Razor.
Well, in your Kingmaker in the Kingmaker campaign, I ran some NPCs tried to start a religion of your PCs, so you shut that down, but could happen. Or it talks about a variety of other regions in here why you might have a character who does not follow a particular religion.
That's right. So, let's move on from that and go into character options. We'll do maybe the character options intro and then the feats and then the outro. So, character options here are going to be the rest of the book. So, we'll do most of the character options on Saturday. But there's been a little bit of character options even throughout some of the earlier portions, but not like big sections full of different options here. But once you have character options, they really let you tie your character into a faith in a way that's more concrete than just saying you're in there, and then everyone's like, okay. And that's what this section includes. There's feats that will allow you to sort of do little tricks that are based on the amount that you worship people. There are spells. A lot of them, as we'll find out, are actually not divine spells, because they are spells specifically on other spell lists that certain deities can grant their clerics, because deities have to grant non-divine spells to their clerics, and so
you gotta have
some people were like, gods and magic have so few spells that are divine, and like that's why, because if it was added to divine, then it would
not
definitionally not be able to do what it was supposed to do.
There's also new, but there are some new divine specific spells in the form of domains and domain spells.
And there are divine spells in the spells. It's just that there are a lot of them that aren't. But you're absolutely there. New domain spells.
And that can support the expanded domain initiative and splinter faith feats that we talked about earlier with alternate domains.
There's items and weapons, and then the last section is going to be a giant appendix that is so giant, so massive of an undertaking that we will give biased reactions to that on Saturday.
That is true.
So let's talk about the feats in here. You can see that this guy his name is Sacred Defense. He is sacredly defending. So you can do a lot of things with these feats. They are mainly, and perhaps...
He liked that 7th level feat so much that he said, you know what? My name from here on out is Sacred Defense.
Yeah, that's what his name is. A lot of these are skill feats, but it's really a smorgasbord, and you have to look to see which kind of feat you're going to get. So, like, Battle Prayer is pretty cool. For one action, you just kind of pray and deal to your deity and maybe read a scripture and deal damage to some kind of a fiend. Well, if you're good, right? If you're not, then you might not deal damage to the fiend.
I mean, if you're evil, you might use it to burn angels. Who knows?
Yeah, that's right. And you could actually deal damage just to evil people in general if you're good. But since it's just a little bit, but it's the alignment damage, it's going to do a lot to a fiend because they are weak against that. Or the equivalent if you were evil and you burned angels by spouting out blasphemies. There's Blessed Tonic, where you have a skill feat that lets you kind of create some blessed alchemical items. Blessed Toxins, where you create blessed alchemical poisons. Blessed Blood. Yeah, a lot of them start with the word bless, okay? It's a sorcerer feat that lets you add your deity spells to your sorcerer spell list. You still have to pick them for your repertoire, but hey, could be useful. Charlatan skill feat, where you are going to pretend to be, you've worshipped Rasmir perhaps, and you're going to pretend to be an actual cleric. Environmental Grace, where you adapt to environments of a certain temperature, using your deity's cold, fire, nature, or travel domain to help you. Evangelize, where you're so good at diplomacy and you're talking about your deity that you could stupefy someone by your weird, bizarre, arguments that they should convert, unless they genuinely change to support your faith as a result of the argument, then they will not be stupefied by it.
And it works for philosophies, too.
Yes, it does. So you'd be like, stop what you're doing! According to Sung Post to you, you will come back as a beetle if you continue this. And they're like, what? A beetle? Stupefied one. Then there's Mortal Healing, which is an upgraded godless healing for the laws of mortality, where when you roll a success to treat wounds for a creature that has not regained hit points from divine magic in the past 24 hours, you get a critical success instead. I think Linda's level 20 Leshy has that in Q times.
That is true.
Numb to Death, where you've just died and you've come back and you're like, oh, death, okay, whatever. And once per day, the first time you regain hit points while you're dying, you regain additional hit points. And you do not gain a wounded condition. You're like, oh yeah, this is the thing. Oh, Sacred Defense, that guy on the other side. Here he is. Once per hour, you yell out about your deity and make a religion check, and your goal is to gain temporary hit points. That's pretty good. No wonder you like Sacred Defense, I guess.
My name is Temporary Hit Points!
Sacred Key is a monk feat that lets you add in some alignment damages that you didn't have before into your key strike options, which can be super handy for a good monk who wants to beat the crap out of fiends. Sanctify Water, Master in Religion, you can kind of take a container of water and make it holy water. Or, evil if you're evil. And then Syncretism, where you find an overlap between two deities' teachings, and you have two deities, and you have to meet all of their requirements. And then it gives you one of the deity's domains, like you used Expanded Domain Initiate, or the other deity's favorite weapon if you're a War Priest. So Cloister Clerk gets the one domain from the other deity, War Priest gets the weapon from the other deity.
I see a comment. Bless me with hit points, Groatus. Followers of Groatus would be good at stupefying people with Evangelize.
Yes, you're all going down when Groatus comes down. Fear the moon.
Yes.
Alright, so let's leave off from there, so that'll give us some nice spells and items
to cover next time in our final episode of Gods and Magic.
So let's say goodbye to YouTube and then do our outro. Bye, YouTube. See you next time.